I'm going to start the recording. And we're going to go over metabolism today. You probably are going to have a lot of questions on how to help someone lose weight, gain weight as we move through this module. I'm probably going to answer them in this PowerPoint, but definitely interrupt me if you have a specific question that you need answered right away. Okay. So I think when I made this PowerPoint, I put some silly sounds in there. So if you do hear some different sounds, it's because of the PowerPoint. Do you all see my PowerPoint right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the question is, how do you know if you're the right size body? Because a lot of people, they don't even realize what normal would be, right? Am I too big? Am I too small? Am I just right? How do I know? So there's different ways that our society measures people. Okay, one of them in the middle here is just to measure your weight. You stand on the scale and it says, boom, I weigh 150 pounds. That's what I am. Well, how do you know if that's the right weight for your body? Does anybody know? Or do you just kind of guess?
Isn't it your height to do with your weight, to do with your age, and then gender?
Right. Well, that would be all the factors that we would use to calculate if you're the right size. Now, believe me, nobody really, I do have a background in psychology. Believe me when I say this, nobody really cares what size you are. We always have this thought in our mind that people are critiquing what we look like, but everybody has that same thought. So we're more worried about, you know, what we look like than what other people look like. So to get past that, we really should be more concerned about what we weigh in terms of our health, not necessarily our looks, okay? So if we took into account, I think that was that Patty who just said that?
Yes, Patty.
Yeah. So if we took into account our age, our gender, our height, our weight, we can calculate and say, well, what should we be at? What weight should we be at? And so there's a couple ways to do that. A simplistic way is the body mass index. We're going to do that next. That only takes into account your height and weight, nothing else. Not your age, not your gender, not what you do for a living, nothing. So it's kind of flawed, right? And when we do this, it's going to show that a lot of us are overweight. Okay? That's because the body mass index was made in 1890 and it hasn't changed since. But if you look at generations going by, you know, lots of the generations are getting taller and bigger than the generation prior to them. I know that my 7th grade son is almost as tall as I am. I'm 5'10". He's right now about 5'8". So, I mean, we're just getting bigger. So for this not to be revised for over 130 years or so, it's pretty outdated. We'll get to that in a moment. The best method is your body composition, where we can use a tool to say how much of what I weigh is water, how much of what I weigh is fat, and how much of what I weigh is lean mass. So I'll show you some of those tools that people use to measure that. So we can use any of these to determine if I'm the right body size, but the best method is body comp. And when you're working with somebody that says, I want you to help me lose weight, the first thing we have to figure out is, where is their baseline? Like, how much of their body right now is fat? Because if they're at a normal level of body fat, their body's not going to let them lose weight. And I've had this issue with people in the past. I've had females come to me or males come to me and they're normal body fat, right? Or at the low end of normal body fat. And they're like, I still want to lose weight. Well, your body doesn't want to because it wants to be healthy and functional. So they're going to have challenges doing that. All right, we'll get to that as we move through here. So I'm not going to tell you to memorize this, and I don't. I don't even have this memorized. The first method to determine if we're the right size is called the body mass index. We shorten it a lot of times BMI. Okay, BMI. Your weight in kilograms divided by your height squared in meters squared. Or if you wanted to do it in US units, 703 times your weight in pounds divided by your height squared in inches. All right. I don't know any of my students that ever input those datas, but you could if you really, really love math. That they do have a chart you can look at to see what your BMI is. And when I show you this chart, I'm going to give you about a minute or two to find out what your BMI is, and it'll come up in a number. What we're looking at for what this chart states is normal weight would be 18.5 to 25. Anything over 25, they say, is overweight. Anything less than 18 is underweight. And the only thing this really tells us, again, is a measure of your height and weight. If you fall within this normal range, you have less risk of chronic disease. If you're in this 18.5 to 25, you have less risk of getting a disease. Now, it is very flawed, the BMI, because what I said, people are big now and people are weight training now. Back in 1890, we had shorter people who didn't weight train. So it is true, muscle weighs more than fat. And so use common sense when you use this chart. Typically there are reminders that say, if you're an athlete, this chart does not work for you. If you are someone who's weightlifting a lot or very physically active, your body will weigh a lot. And then this thing's going to tell you you're overweight, but that's a flaw. We could take probably every professional athlete who took this would show that they are obese because their body weighs so much, but a lot of it is muscle. Now, if you're a couch potato and don't do anything and you're not working out and you're eating a lot of food, then this may be true for you. Okay, so let's move on and see what that looks like. Can you see the chart that I have on the screen right now? I want all of you, I want all of you to use this. On the left, you're going to look for your height. Okay, so I'm 5'10". I would look in this category. And then I would look in this line. I'm sorry, 5'10" line is right here. And then I would look at the weight on the top. Okay. And let's say we'll go with the 150. We'll go down to 5'10". A person who's 5'10" and 150 pounds, their BMI is 22. So that falls within the normal range. Anything in green is the normal range. Okay. Yellow, overweight. Orange, obese. Red, extremely obese. So I'm going to stop talking. In fact, I'm going to go get really quick a glass of water. I'm going to come back in about a minute, and I want you to know what your BMI is. Did you get it? Y'all have your number for your BMI?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody willing to share, not necessarily the number, but if you think it's accurate for you?
I'd like to share.
Okay, and who is this?
Sorry? Oh, this is Laura.
Laura, okay.
Yeah. According to the chart, it says I'm obese, but I know I'm not close to obese. I just weigh a lot.
Yes. When I was, and I'll give you guys a little quick story. When I was a Triton student years ago, I played on the softball team. And my body fat was 11%, which is actually too low for a woman. Normal body fat for a woman is in the 20s. So it should be like 20, 25%, blah, blah, blah. All right. So I was actually under fat when I took my body comp. But this chart always said I was obese. Always. Even when I was at Triton, that was probably 2.5 decades ago. So you know what? For people that are athletes or working out quite a bit, this is an inaccurate chart. Yet, doctors use it all the time. You may see it posted if you go to a doctor's office. The reason they use it is it's cheap and quick. And I'm thinking for the most part, the doctor may ask you like if you're an athlete or if you work out. But for the most part, they assume that the patients they're seeing are kind of just that average adult who isn't an athlete, who isn't a high active level person, because we know that like 2/3 of people in the US don't work out. We know that, like, in terms of data. So this probably would be accurate for a lot of people, but for my students that are trying to exercise and get healthy and they're athletes, this doesn't work very well. It shows a lot of people obese or overweight that aren't. So a better option would be get your body comp done. Does anybody else want to share their thoughts on this chart or where they fell in, whether it was green, yellow, orange? All right, we'll move on. Body comp. Anybody ever get this done?
Yes, me.
Yeah, they call it skin fold sometimes. And when you're on campus, if you do ever want to stop into the fitness center when it's open, hopefully the fitness center will open in a month or so. We do have some of these tools in the fitness center, so you can ask to get that done. I don't think they would do it on anyone, so just say I'm in Dr. Murphy's nutrition class and she said we could get this done. So you guys could go down there and one of the workers can help you. But the one on the right is a skin fold where they actually pinch how much fat you have. Okay, I stopped doing that in the fitness center years ago because, one, I don't want to grab people's fat, and number two, nobody wants me to grab their fat. It's kind of like embarrassing, right? But the skin fold, you would grab how much fat they have and measure it in millimeters with this skin fold device. It's on the right-hand side. And for females, we would measure their stomach, their thigh, and the back of their arm, like tricep area. And we would plug in those three measurements into a math problem, and it would pop up how much fat they had in their body. So what we're measuring is subcutaneous fat here. For the male, we would measure their chest, their stomach, and their thigh. And then we would get a measurement. Now, fast forward years later, they developed these things on the left called the electrostatic impedance machines. And they're little handheld devices. The fitness center does have them. And we input into that little machine your age, your height, your weight, your activity level. And you hold on to the sides of it with your hands, and electrodes will go in and out of your body. You don't feel anything, but they'll refract or bounce off of fat molecules differently than they bounce off of water or lean mass. And then a reading would come back and tell us how much body fat you have. And in this one, it looks like something like 19.5. Okay, and so then we would know your body is this much fat. We assume, you learned this already, we assume your body is about 60% water as long as you're hydrated. So if we added 60% water plus, let's say, 20% body fat, 60 plus 20 is 80, we would know that 20 more percent would be lean mass, because your body's only made of three things. Your body's made of water, fat, and lean mass. And all of that should add up to 100%. And that's what I have on the screen right now. So we could do it a couple of different ways. We could do that skin fold. We could do the electrostatic impedance, and we would find out how much fat you are. Normal body fat for a male, and this is probably more fitness level or really good level. Remember, 10 to 15%. Women are 10 points higher. So a female, 20 to 25% is normal for body fat, and the leftovers would be lean mass. Okay. Now, I don't know how many of you know how much body fat you have. I don't. If we were on campus, I'd be able to do everyone's, and we would get that number for you. Again, later this semester or next semester, if you're still around Triton, you could go in the fitness center and get it measured for yourself. And remember, you've got to tell them you're in Dr. Murphy's class. Even if it's next semester, just tell them I was in Dr. Murphy's class. She wants me to get my body comp done. And here's what I have to say about this, right? We're talking about weight control. If a woman comes to me and her body fat's 18%, I'm going to tell her, you probably can't lose weight. There's no reason to, because you need that 18% to be healthy. So your body knows that, and it's not going to easily let you lose weight. Okay? You should be within 20 to 25% of fat if you're a woman. Same thing with man. If a man comes to me and he's at 5% body fat, I'm going to tell him you're probably not going to lose weight. Okay? Because we need that fat for all the functions we've talked about, right? Protect your organs, regulate your body temperature, carry your vitamins, maintain the integrity of your brain and your heart. There's lots of reasons we need fat on our body. So don't think less and less and less is better. We need to be at a moderate level. Now, if a woman comes to me and she's at 35% body fat, I can help her lose weight. If a guy comes to me, he's at 20% body fat, I can help him lose weight. And the way I do that is I take an assessment. I actually do the diet analysis with them to see how many calories they're eating. Okay? And then I can recommend how many calories they should be eating, plus what kind of foods they have, right? I want to be offering them good carbs, good fat, good protein. Okay? So I could do that diet analysis, which you're going to do in class. And based on what that diet analysis says, I'm going to make recommendations. Maybe they're eating too many calories. I've had people not eating enough calories. And I actually told them if you'd eat more, your metabolism would speed up and you'd lose weight. I could talk to them about if they're maybe have too much of one nutrient, not enough of another nutrient, all based on that combo report. And then I'm going to make sure that they're doing cardio and weight training. But guys, if you were to hire a nutritionist and you were to pay them $200 an hour, I don't know what the going rate is, $200 an hour to help you lose weight, the first thing they would do after they got to know you is to do a diet analysis. Okay. After they did the diet analysis, they'd sit down with you and go over it. What are you doing good? What do you need to change? That's your assignment for the next 2 weeks, right? So you essentially are learning the skills that any nutritionist would use on a client. So you would be able to, if you paid attention over the next 2 weeks, help anyone you know lose weight. Okay. You could help build them a plan. The question is, are they going to follow that plan? That's where the psychology comes in, right? So if I was your nutritionist, I'd run that diet analysis. I would do your body comp. And if your body comp was coming out that you were a little bit over fat, I can help you. If your body comp is coming out that you're within normal ranges or under fat, you're not going to lose weight. In fact, some people may come to me and say, I want to gain weight. Maybe you do have a person that's, 8% body fat that wants to gain weight. We can help them. All right. But the answer of can I help someone lose weight or gain weight really is I need to know their baseline body comp. I cannot tell someone I can help them unless I know where they're starting at. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. So for those of you that are wanting to help people lose weight, this is your time to learn. Because you guys aren't going to have me, but you can learn this and then help people as you move along. So what's our body made of? About 60% water. And the blue line, you can see that about 60% of us is water. And it is true, your metabolism, or remember, your metabolism is how many calories you burn in a day. Your metabolism will be slow if you're dehydrated. You have to have body water. Then it shows in yellow how much fat you should be, right? So for women, we want to be in the 20s. That's normal. For guys, you want to be about 10 less. You want to be in the teens, okay, in the teens. And then this purple and green is your lean mass, okay? Our bones, our muscles, our ligaments, our organs, that's all lean mass. And it should obviously all add up to 100%. Does anyone know what body fat they are right now? Nobody?
The last time I checked, I was like 15%.
Okay, so you're at a good level. Now remember, I did say these numbers are pretty good. These numbers do change, guys, based on your age. So for someone like me, who, again, I told you I'm 48, I need to be closer to 30. That's normal as we age. For younger individuals, they want to be closer to 20, or again, even a little bit less, you're okay. Right? 15 is good. As you age, it should and normally will go up, slide a bit. So if you told me I'm 15% body fat, I know you're a woman. If you said something to me like, I want to lose weight, I would discourage you from trying to do that. I would say it's not work, right? Because what you would be losing, your body doesn't want to lose fat if you're already normal. What you would be losing would either be that lean mass or water. And we don't want that, right? We don't want you to lose water and be dehydrated. We don't want you to lose muscle tissue or organ. So you have to know a baseline. Before you help anybody lose weight, you really want to know this body comp. Now, you might look at somebody and you can tell, wow, they're over fat. I could probably help them without even knowing the body comp. But there are plenty of normal sized individuals that vary in their fat percentages. I mean, if anybody watches like the Chicago Bears, you can have like a 250-pound person, a guy obviously, a 250-pound person that's 10% body fat. Or you can have a 250-pound person that's like 30% body fat. So we just don't know, okay? We might not know how much fat that person has on them, okay? So getting to know your baseline is important. Now, remember I told you based on your age, this is how much body fat you should have. It does change per decade. Again, I'm going to probably pause for about 2 minutes now so you can use this chart. Now, you don't know what you're at right now, but this is where you should be at. The guys are on the top, women on the bottom, okay? So I'm going to guess a lot of you are in this 20 to 29 age bracket. The average male in their 20s, the average body fat should be about 16%. Okay. And for a woman in her 20s, the average is about 22% body fat. But you can, I'm gonna leave this up here so you can look based on your age. Somebody had raised their hand. What's your question?
Yeah, does it have anything to do with your height as well, or is like can age be the only factor?
With this one, I can't say that height isn't somehow impact your body comp. Let me put it that way.
Which one would this be off of? Like, what would be the height that this one goes off of that you are showing right now?
Well, no, so we don't stipulate the chart by height, but height will impact how much fat you have in your body right now. Because when we look at the factors of metabolism, the taller you are, the higher your metabolism would be. So taller people tend to have a faster metabolism than shorter people. So the taller person actually burns more calories. So you're at an advantage. I always joke around, I wish I was another inch tall, but taller people are at an advantage because they have a little protective factor built into them to get within normal body comp. Okay. So this chart, we don't separate it by height, but know that your height is a factor in your body determining what its body composition currently is. All right. So if you ate the same amount of food and you did the same amount of activity, and the only difference was one person was 5 foot tall and the other person was 6 foot tall, you ate the same, you did exactly the same exercise, that 6 foot tall person would have less body fat because their metabolism is faster because they're a foot higher than the other person. Does that make sense now? No?
Yes,
Okay, it does.
it does.
All right, all right. So yeah, I'm 5'10". People think I'm tall. I don't think I'm tall enough. But those taller people, I mean, when we see NBA players, we see a lot of them are, I think, even close to 8 foot tall. They're thin. Their body comp is low. They don't have a lot of body fat because that extra height, their metabolism is faster the taller you are. But that's really genetic, right? We can't change a height. Okay, by now you guys should find out what your normal is. But guys, you should be in the teens, is what I'm going to say. You should, 20% for a man, 20% or more is really obesity, unless you're, a senior. For the women, we want to be in our 20s. 30% or more is really obesity. Okay. So guys, you should be under 20, women under 30. Okay, and we said this before. In order to get to normal body comp, if we did 3 things consistently, your body would get to normal body composition on its own. You wouldn't have to worry about dieting or exercising extra or, all this planning. But what you'd have to do is 3 things consistently for the ladies to get in their 20s body fat and for guys to get in their teens body fat. The first one is healthy nutrition. You have to eat right almost every day of the month. Giving yourself a break one day a month is perfectly fine. But on most days, you have to eat healthy. And on most days, 80% or more of the food you eat should be healthy. And I'm going to ask you guys a question now. So I'm cueing you to pay attention. I'd like for you to say, I'm going to see if I could get 3 or 4 people to do this. I know you guys are quiet, but what does eating healthy mean to you guys now that we've moved this far into the class? If I was to say to you, what does eating healthy mean? What would be your response? Let's
Eating
get 3
whole.
brave souls.
Getting your nutrition.
Okay, one at a time. Who was the first one?
Eating whole, Patty?
Okay, so eating whole foods, very good. So non-processed foods. Okay, and who was next? Was it Philip?
Yeah, I was saying get your nutrition needs.
So eat the right nutrients, right? Maybe
Yep.
I could cue you in and saying things like, let's make sure 60% of the food we eat is good carbs. 20% protein, 20% fat. These are the kind of things we're looking for in that diet analysis. When you read your combo report, are you eating 60% carbs, 20% fat, 20% protein? Plus or minus 5, right? Plus or minus 5 or 10, you're still good. Okay, a couple more students. What does eating healthy mean to you?
Eating
Come on,
in
guys.
moderation.
Eating in moderation. Good. And, right now, you probably don't know the exact amount of calories you should eat in a day. But by the end of Thursday, you will. There's a lengthy math problem that we're going to do, and it's going to tell each single one of you how many calories you should eat in one day. Now, when we input our data into the diet analysis, or even that food group program, that Super Tracker or My Plate program, they're going to give you recommendations. I think the food plate tells everyone pretty much, well, you should eat 2,000 calories a day. But that isn't very accurate for every single adult in the United States. Not every adult is eating 2,000 calories a day. Okay. How many you eat in a day, how many calories you eat in a day is really based on a lot of different factors. We'll go over some of them today. So eating a sufficient amount of calories, that's healthy nutrition. Eating whole foods, eating the proper macronutrients and micronutrients, okay? I would say, can you guys put your mics on mute? Could you put your mics on mute unless you're talking? I would say making sure you get enough fiber because that really controls your appetite. I would also say making sure you're not getting too much sodium. Because if you get too much sodium, that's going to push up your water weight and you're going to weigh too much. I've worked with people in the past that we lowered their sodium levels and they lost weight. They did nothing to their caloric intake. They just cut sodium and they've lost weight. So that's very, very important. But if we eat healthy consistently most days of the week, if we do resistance training and we do cardio, we're going to get to normal body comp. The problem with our society is most people do not do all 3 things. and reflect back to yourself. Can you honestly say to yourself, I do all three of these things consistently most days of the month? Or do you do two of them? I know for me, I'm always eating healthy and I'm always doing cardio, but sometimes I forget my resistance training. So that's my flaw. I know that, right? I know I should be doing more resistance training. You have plenty of people that eat very healthy but don't exercise. You have plenty of people, a lot of athletes I know, they do a ton of resistance training and cardio, but their nutrition is very bad, right? So they may be out of control with their body comp. But what I can say to you is by the end of next week, you should be a detective and be able to look at the diet analysis, their exercise plans, and be able to give people advice to say, well, if you changed a couple of things, you could get to normal body comp. But what are those things? We should be able to identify that. So I have this funny little slide here. All right, metabolism. It's a big fancy word for how many calories is your body burning. Anabolism is how much you put in terms of calories, how much you eat, and catabolism is how much your body's breaking down. So this is input of calories, this is output of calories. So when you hear the word metabolism, think, how many calories am I putting in and how many calories am I burning off in one day? Okay, and we're going to find out what number this is. I think we're going to do the math Thursday. So you're going to find out in class Thursday what your metabolism is, but make sure you have a calculator with you. You can use your phone. It's simple math. It's basically multiplying, adding, and doing some percentages. But we'll do it in class on Thursday. So there is 3 components to your metabolism. Look at it this way. How many calories your body burns in one day is based off of these 3 things. Your basal metabolic rate, how much activity you do, and burning off of food. The thermic effect of food is you burning, literally digesting and burning food. These are what the components are of how many calories you burn in a day. So I'm going to get to the definition of each of one of them in a minute. So think of your weight, your current weight. Is it in balance with what you're putting into your body and what you're burning off? We put in calories from carbs, fat, and protein. Then we burn off calories, or we expend calories from our basal metabolic rate, how much physical activities we do in a day, and the thermic effect of food, or actually burning off food. Okay? This is how many calories come out of our body. And that was very similar to what I had on this slide here. BMR plus activity plus thermic effect of food. So let me get into all 3 of them. What is your basal metabolic rate? This is your first component of your metabolism. This is how many calories you burn staying alive and doing nothing else. So if you were to lay flat on your back, how many calories does your body burn just staying alive? We call that your basal metabolic rate, or BMR. And of these 3 things, guys, basal metabolic rate, activity, and thermic effect of food, the most calories your body burns is just staying alive. Any adult, the minimum their BMR is typically 1,200 calories or more. So let's see what your BMR actually is based off of. How many calories you burn staying alive is based off of how tall you are, how much lean body mass you have, how much muscles you have, your age, how much thyroid hormone you have, how much stress you're under, whether you're pregnant or breastfeeding, and then if you're on any drugs. So when people say to me, how do I increase my metabolism? You can only really control a couple of things on your screen here. You can control how much lean mass your body has. How would I recommend a person get more lean mass? Or how could a person get more muscles in their body? What's the answer? How does a person get more muscles?
The strength training or resistance training?
Yeah, that's the
And
answer.
yeah.
That's the answer. It's really the only thing. So if a person comes to me and says, how do I get my metabolism to speed up? The answer is do weight training. That's the only way you could actually safely increase your metabolism, right? You cannot get taller. You cannot get younger. We really cannot impact our thyroid hormone. And I say really because there are some people that has low thyroid hormone and doctors might give them a prescription drug to speed it up. But we cannot take that prescription drug if we have a normal thyroid hormone because basically it would kill you if your thyroid hormone was too fast. So drugs is not the answer. There are some people, about 10% of the population have hypothyroidism, which is a slow or low thyroid level. And for those people, maybe someone in the class is like that, we give them a prescription drug, their thyroid hormone is now back to normal. Okay. Acute stress will impact your BMR. So let's say you're standing out in front of your house and a lion turns the corner and starts running towards you. Your metabolism is going to shoot up, but only if it's acute or short-term stress. If it is chronic stress, it actually slows your metabolism down. So we don't want to be under stress, right? Okay, when you're pregnant or breastfeeding, your BMR goes up because you're using calories not only for yourself, but also for that baby too. Probably not a reason to get pregnant though, right? We don't say, oh, let's get pregnant so our metabolism speeds up. And then drugs will speed up your metabolism. But they will also slow it down too, believe it or not. So if you were on a stimulant drug, like caffeine, that's the lowest dose stimulant drug out there. While the drug is in your system, your metabolism speeds up. So you drink a cup of coffee, your metabolism speeds up for like 20 minutes. After the drug is gone, your metabolism actually slows down below baseline. So you're actually burning less calories after that drug is out of your system than you would normally have. So a lot of like weight loss drugs, they're stimulants. They could have a lot of caffeine. There used to be a drug called ephedrine, but it's illegal now in the state of Illinois. That they would put these stimulants in these drugs and say, take this, your metabolism will speed up. Take this hydroxycut or Metabolife or whatever they call them now. But know that when the drug's in your body, your metabolism is fast. But as soon as that drug leaves, your metabolism is slower than it should have been in the first place. So if we look at this, the only way we can control our metabolism is to get more muscles. So we need to start doing resistance training twice a week. People with a slow metabolism, think of this. Is this somebody like that you know that they have a slow metabolism? Let me go back. Sorry. I wanted to make sure I got everything. People that are walking around with slow metabolisms, they don't have a lot of muscles. Okay. So if you wanted to be a person's personal trainer and they hired you to lose body fat, if you get them to do resistance training, that will speed up their metabolism, and within a month, they'll probably have lost weight. When they're doing that resistance training to build their lean body mass, you have to make sure they're doing that fast and slow twitch muscles. You have to make sure they're doing light weights and heavy or power weights. Okay, because remember, half your body does light weight, that's slow twitch. Half your body does heavy weight, that's fast twitch. So get them to do both, because if you ask people what kind of weights they're lifting when you first do an intake or an assessment with them, if they've been doing the same amount of weight or baby weights for a decade, all their training slow twitch. You can increase the resistance and get them to do faster or heavier weights. Half their muscles are going to now start working that weren't working before. So people who are not burning a ton of calories or who have slow metabolism, they don't have a lot of muscle. They tend to be shorter. As you get older, your metabolism slows down. It is true. Believe me, I'm 48. I know that now. Right? When I was 20, I could eat anything and not gain a pound. Like I was under fat when I was 20s. Now I have to watch it more because it's almost like every decade. Once you turn 30, things start to slow down. I tell my husband all the time, he just turned 40. I say, wait till you turn 40. Everything's going to start to slow down. I haven't made 50 yet, but I'm going to guess again, once you make 50, everything slows a little bit more down. So you got to either cut your calories or do more exercise. All right. If we decided we weren't going to eat for a long period of time, we were going to do like a starvation diet or a fasting diet, it does slow down your metabolism. Okay. So instead of burning 2,000 calories a day, you don't eat, your body's going to shut down and be like, well, I'm only going to burn 1,500 calories a day because I don't know when my next meal's coming and I don't want to starve to death. So your BMR will slow down. Your metabolism will slow down if you don't eat food. And if you recall a few minutes ago, I told you guys, I've worked with plenty of students who weren't eating enough. I'd look at their diet analysis and it showed me they were only eating 800 calories a day. Their metabolism slow. I would tell them literally, eat more food and you'll lose weight. And they didn't believe me, but they did it. They ate more food and the weight started coming off. Because when you get to a normal ingestion of food, your metabolism goes back to normal, you'll start burning more calories in a day. The same thing with dehydration. If you don't intake enough water, your metabolism's slow. So you got to make sure you're eating. You got to make sure you're drinking your water, okay? So how do I increase my metabolism? Let's put it all together here. Do resistance training. Eat small amounts of food often. You got to be eating breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a couple snacks. Do your resistance training, do cardio, and try to be more active in a day. And remember, what we're talking about here is solely how many calories your body burns staying alive. How do I increase that BMR? If we go back here. Go back here real quick. 3 components of metabolism. We just went over the BMR, the amount of calories you burn staying alive, right? It is based on your age, your height, but mostly it's based on how much muscle you have in your body. The more muscle you have, the more calories you burn 24 hours a day. So we want you to have as much muscle as possible, okay? We get to that second component of metabolism, it's how active you are. So the next component we're talking about is activity. Oops, sorry. Let me go back to this slide. We're not going to go any further than this today. So basal metabolic rate, how many calories you burn staying alive. Your activity, this is where any active things you do in one day, above and beyond staying alive, this is where these calories start coming off. So the more activities you do, the higher your metabolism will be. Any chore you do, any sports you do, any exercise you do, we count that as an activity calorie. Okay? So walking around the block, taking the stairs instead of taking the elevator, and, jump rope, doing fun things even, like playing with your dog, anything like that, that counts as an activity calorie. So here, basal metabolic rate is calories to stay alive. Activity is anything you do that's active, okay? And then the thermic effect of food. This is basically the calories you burn digesting and absorbing the foods you eat. So when you eat an apple, you actually expend calories to digest and absorb that apple. And this is very limited. It only really accounts for 10% of your total metabolism, this thermic effect of food. But yet it is in the equation. Okay. So I'm gonna ask you guys a question. But what you need to know pretty much by the end of today is that your total metabolism has 3 parts: basal metabolic rate, activities, and your thermic effect of food. Thursday, we're going to do a math equation, and we are going to use multiplication and addition and percentages. and we will find out what your basal metabolic rate is, how many calories you burn in a day being active, and we will find out how many calories you burn in a day digesting food. And when we add these three things together, that's going to give you your total metabolism, or how many calories you personally burn each day. And everyone is going to be different. I've never yet, in 25 years of teaching, had two students with the same exact metabolism in a classroom. Everyone is different. I could tell you if I ran mine, my metabolism is about 3,000 calories a day. Okay. And you could say, wow, that's a lot higher than what the USDA says. You know, right? The food labels say 2,000 calorie a day diet. Well, a couple of things here. I am very, very active. So the more activity you do, the more calories your body burns in a day. All right. I also have a pretty quick basal metabolic rate because I have a lot of muscle mass. So the calories my body burns just staying alive is high because I have a lot of muscle mass, right? This is the only controllable factor we really have in terms of our basal metabolic rate, is how much muscle you have. And that's why I tell people you got to do some resistance training. If you haven't been doing it and you start, your basal metabolic rate will go up very quickly within a month. When I look at this equation, I say the more active I am and the more times I eat, the more calories my body burns. So I want to be active a lot and I want to eat a lot, right? Not huge amounts of food, but I want to make sure I'm eating 5 times a day: breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then a couple snacks. I don't want to go through any period of time where I could be considered fasting because that slows down my metabolism. All right. So upon leaving today, you need to know what are the 3 things that a total metabolism is comprised of. When we get to class on Thursday, we're going to start doing math right away. All right. And I'm going to show you 2 different equations to find your basal metabolic rate. Then we're going to add in your activities and thermic effect of food. Okay. Now, if you do scroll ahead in the PowerPoint, there are a couple equations. How to find your total metabolism. This is based on the textbook. So in your book, this is the equation in your book, which we'll use. And the equation in your book is pretty simplistic. It only takes into account your gender and your weight. It's simplistic. Okay. It's the easiest one to use. But if we use a more sophisticated math equation, and this is called the Harris-Benedict equation, this one is more exact because this takes into effect your gender, your weight, your height, and your age. So you can see it would be more exact. It's a little bit harder math equation to do. All right. So you guys could work ahead if need be. If you're sitting here thinking right now, I really want to know how many calories my body burns in a day, you guys can use these equations, but we are going to go over them in class on Thursday. As of right now, do you guys have any questions on either your total metabolism, which is on the screen, your body mass index, body composition, or any questions on weight control?
Not yet.
Okay. All right, I'm not going to start the math equation because all it would do is we only have about 10 minutes of class left and I can't get through any math equation right now. If I did, it would leave more people confused. So what I'm going to say to you guys is between now and Thursday, it would be a great idea for you to read your textbook, chapters 13 and 14. Chapter 13 it talks about everything I did today, which was a very long lecture. It explains to you what body comp is. It explains to you what metabolism is. Okay. For some reason, a lot of students got metabolism confused. On your final, there's going to be questions. What are the 3 components of your metabolism? How do you find your metabolism? And you've got to be able to know those. Chapter 13 is going to explain all of that. Chapter 14 talks about exercises and how strength training and cardio play a role in our metabolism. So that's more about the activity component of weight control, where chapter 13 is more about the nutrition component of weight control. So both 13 and 14 are in your textbook. They're both very important. I would say chapter 13 is the most important chapter in your book, and I usually recommend you read it twice. So between now and Thursday, I would really encourage you to read chapter 13 twice, if you have time, right? And chapter 14 once. When we get to class Thursday, we're going to do your metabolism equation right away. If you read chapter 13, you're going to know what I'm talking about. You'll be able to follow better. Remember that we're in Learning Module 8. The quiz and discussion are not due until next Friday. All right. The discussion question, let me look at it real quick so you know ahead of time what that is. The discussion question for this chapter is going to be, you need to list your total metabolism. Basically what we're doing Thursday. You need to list your total metabolism based on BMR, activity, and thermic effect of food. And then you're going to determine if you are trying to lose weight, gain weight, or stay the same weight. Then you're going to list some ideas that you're currently doing in order to reach that goal. So if you're trying to lose weight, what are you doing? If you're trying to gain weight, what are you doing? If you're trying to stay the same weight, what are you doing? All right, so that math equation you need to have in your discussion question. The math equation we'll do Thursday. The discussion question also talks about body composition. Many of you probably do not know what your body comp is, but you do have to list what is normal for a woman and what is normal for a guy for body comp. And then you're going to discuss the theories of weight control, which we over Thursday and then Tuesday of next week. Okay. All right. If you guys got questions, you can stick around. Otherwise, we are done for today. If you came in after attendance, raise your hand. Okay. Mata and Morgan, I have you. Everyone else, have a great day, and I will talk to you guys Thursday. Okay, Joshan, I have you. Jalen, I actually have you as well. You guys are good to go.